içine hoş geldiniz. Bayağı fikri biz Berlin Film Festivali'nde merdivenlerde otururken çıkmıştı. Çok heyecanlandık. Çok ilginç bir hikaye dinleyeceksiniz. Moderatör Tobias Pausinger bizimle çalışıyor biliyorsunuz. Danis Tanovic, Amra Baksic Camo, Cedomir Kolar, konuklarımız. Çok heyecanlıyız. Umarım sizin de hoşunuza gider. Dinlemekten keyif alıyorsunuz.
So it seems that it worked. It was all translated. Thank you very much. Merhaba, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Also very much. Many thanks to the team of the film An Episode in the Life of an Iron Picker. I introduce the team to you. It's Cedomir Kolar, the producer, on the right side, from your side. Danis Tanovic, the director, and Amra Baksic Camo, the second producer of the film. So
First producer.
First or second in numbers. First of all, congratulations to the wonderful film, and congratulations to your success in Berlin. Has been, I think, for us all kind of a surprise, and it was very good that a film like this has been awarded like that. To start the conversation about we have a very funny title for this panel here. It is about low budget, micro budget, and actually what we wanted to start with is to give an overview about how this film happened. It is a very unique story. It is a very it cannot be seen as a blueprint how you're gonna shoot movies in the future, but it can give you a lot of inspiration in your approach towards how you might develop a film in the future or approach filmmaking. It has a very different angle on things, because just to start with, maybe this is the first question or to you, Danis, like how came this film? How did it happen? I heard it was a very urgent thing you wanted to do. I heard it was very urgent for you to really shoot and have it done immediately, and not to develop things like 2-3 years. So maybe you can tell how it came that you wanted to shoot this film.
Well, I think all filmmakers are fed up of waiting. We all fed up of just waiting for the budgets and for the financiers to get together, and it just takes too much time. But that was not the reason. Actually, the story started one morning. Every morning I have coffee with my friends in a hotel next to my house, and every morning we just, sometimes we talk, sometimes we read newspapers, and don't talk. It's very Bosnian kind of having coffee. It's just saying hi and just sit there and enjoy the company without talking. So I opened the newspapers and I read the story about this woman who was actually she was pregnant, and she went to hospital because she felt sick, and then they told her that she lost a child, then that she would have to, the child should be taken out because she was dead, but she didn't have any social insurance and health insurance, and basically they let her go. So for a few days she was going back and forward, and they wouldn't do it without her paying 1,000 KM, which is roughly 500 euros. And at the end she actually took somebody else's health insurance and pretended to be another person, and I think the doctor made a blind eye, basically, and operated her, and at that moment said to her husband, if she didn't come that day, she'd probably die of sepsis. And I actually got really angry when I read the story, because we in Bosnia, we're very proud of being, how we helped each other during the war, and how people are very helpful towards the neighbors. So I called Amra, and I said, I've read stories, it's terrible. I said, could we send somebody to check the story, because I was interested first if it's true, because it's so amazing to me, the whole story is, not that I didn't believe it, but it's kind of really tough. So we sent a guy who's a journalist, who went there, came back, and said, yes, it's true. And at that point, I went there, and I went to meet them. And I didn't know what to do, to tell you the truth. I don't know if I went as a human being or as a film director, because there's a big difference. Yes. So I went there, I saw the village, I started talking to them, and I liked them. After 2 hours with these people, I just understand that, simple people trying to survive, fighting for their life. And at that moment I came back and I said to Amra, we should apply for the documentary fund, which was about to happen that week, actually. Yeah. So I made a few notes, we applied for money.
Just one thing, it was not just the documentary fund, it was the fund for
Yeah,
everything, but we couldn't apply for the feature because we didn't have the script. And that is one of the obligatory documents that you have to apply with.
Yeah. So I went back, and I realized the documentary actually would in the end probably look like some kind of reportage, and I was not very keen to do it. So I then switched and I said we should make a feature film out of it. On Amra being a nice person, so yeah, sure, to feature film out of this. And I was thinking who could play, how could play, and then I don't know, it's just, at one moment I had this idea, and I said to them, listen, why don't you play yourself? And it was really awkward, because they were looking in the beginning, what do you mean, play yourself? And I said, well, you play yourself, what happened? And somehow, after 2-3 days, they kind of, I think, agreed, and I think it helped also because I told them, listen, if we do this as a feature, it's going to take 2 years to get money, and and if you do it yourself, we can give you, some money so you can live now. And I think that was one of the reasons they accepted. I mean, they of course.
Did they know you?
No.
So, as you're a star back home as
No.
well in film?
No.
So they had no idea of cinema?
No.
You were just knocking on their door and said...
When I came second time, they kind of understood.
They got informed, they told you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
They kind of checked out why I was.
Of course.
But, I think there was some kind of, how can I say it? There was understanding between us. I think they understood that I really wanted to do stories was really angry. So they accepted. That's it. Basically, like 2 weeks later, we got money, 30,000 KM, which is 34,000 KM, which is 17,000 euros, which we changed to small bills, coins, and we went to shoot the film. And we actually made this really small crew. I worked with people that I worked on a big project before. We all knew each other, basically. With our director, the DOP, director of photography, all really worked on a film. So, they all accepted to work for almost no money or no money, like, DOP, me, and Beshko, who was organizing everything. We were not paid, we just paid the crew that,
Compensated rather than...
No, we had a rule. There were people who were working for free. It was Danis Tanovic, me, and later on our sound designer. And then there were people who were paid, but the people have been working on different positions. Everybody was at least 8 things at the same time. So we couldn't pay them for what they had been working on. So the whole idea was everybody, between the driver and a guy who was whatever, assistant director, later on editor, they were paid equally. It was 50 euros per day.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how important your position was, what was your job, you were paid 50 euros per day and that was it. And so we had a kind of a meeting with the crew, huge meeting with a huge crew. It was one table of friends, because altogether it was me and 9 of them. And they were asked the question, are they ready to do it? And everybody said yes. So, and actually, whoever worked for the film was paid immediately, which usually, when you work on a much
at
more
the end
complex.
of the day,
And it was at the beginning half of it, and at the end half of it.
Okay.
Nevertheless, it was altogether 350 euros, but it was in 2 installments. So, and they had, they had food on the set.
Yes.
They had fair diems and everything.
There was no set, but we had food.
Yeah. So,
The set was
so
where
it
the
was,
food was.
yeah. So So it was really unique opportunity that you tried to work like that, and I think it worked for us in this certain, very specific project. I don't know.
Just to jump back, maybe for you, for general knowledge, what is the official budget of the film?
30,000 euros altogether with a screening copy of with a screening BCP that was in Berlin.
Just to get the frame, and when you were sitting together, I mean, just thinking about the time span that has passed, it is weeks rather than months.
Basically, the email from Danis with the link of the article came beginning of December. We were
13. I think it was 13
December. We were shooting already end of January, and we finished the film during Berlinale of 2012. That the shooting was finished in 2012 because we didn't shoot for consecutive 9 days. We shot 10. Sorry. We disagree how many days we shot the film. So
no, people should know. I shoot 2 days, half a day. That's 1 day. That's not 2 days.
And my book is 2 days, so we will disagree forever. So 9 or 10 days. 2 days, we shot basically 8 days on location in the village and around the village where they are living and in nearby cities. And then the 2 hospitals. I don't know how many of you have seen the film, but there are scenes in 2 hospitals.
Who has seen the film? Anybody?
Okay, so yeah. So the scenes in the hospitals and were shot in Sarajevo because we couldn't go in original hospitals, of course, and go and shoot them. So this was done in Sarajevo. So. And this is the 10 days that we shot.
Maybe it's important to say that all people were playing themselves except for the doctors.
But even doctors are real doctors, they're friends.
But not the ones which were really involved in this story.
Sure.
You said no.
Obviously, we couldn't get in.
So was the story known before already? As you said, it already made its way to the newspaper. So there must have been already a bit of anger or somebody behind the story, and it has. Or was it just a side note, or was it really big in this event, or that they were refused in hospitals or whatever?
I don't know. Listen, I read the story. When I read the story, it was already 8 months old.
Ah, okay.
So I just read it because somebody mentioned it. It was one of the stories, but somehow, it's just got stuck in my mind. So no, it was an old story.
But in our societies, the gypsy stories are no stories. Nobody cares really what's going on.
But I don't care what's going on with anybody anyway. So it's like you're living this, whatever we call this, liberalization of our countries, where everybody is forgotten. I don't know. So, I think it was also my relationship to whatever is happening to our society. I don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't know where the soul is going, but I don't like the direction. Actually, I don't see the direction. I'm fresh and real, like it's a free fall. There's 2 forms. So you remember this film, Laine? The hate, Jusqu'ici ça va, jusqu'ici ça. Until here it's okay, until here it's okay, until here it's okay. And we're falling, and then, once we hit the ground, it's going to hurt a lot.
So that's basically the motivation, or has been the motivation of the whole team as well, that you had, let's say, one common vision to do this film. Did it help, you think, that you got the people in, that you were all kind of pulling on the same?
Well, listen, I'll be honest, I didn't know much about gypsies. I mean, whatever I know about gypsies is, from stupid films where they're flying or playing music, or it's like, when they are washing my windshield on red lights, or when they're asking money on the street. Basically, that's how we perceive. I mean, I'll be honest, that was what I knew about them. I never went to. I didn't even know there was a Roma village. Once I get there, I understood that they had houses there since 350 years. And they have houses which don't belong to them because it's a land that half of land doesn't belong to them, belongs to the state. So they've been there for 350 years and still they don't make part of society. 90% of them never finish primary school. 90% of that, I mean, you have a rate of unemployment in Bosnia which is 50%, more or less. 50% of people are unemployed. It's like 98% of Romas are unemployed, which we like to say that we're open society and that we are this and that, but actually, you know, I don't see much difference between here. You know. Well, we're not to the point that we're Hungarian, which I think is really sick, but we shouldn't go that way anyway.
What is...
I just wanted to tell you as well, if there's any question or any comment, please jump in and or raise your arm or scream out loud or whatever you want to do.
How did you write the script?
There was no script. There was no script. I first, you know what, I've been working in documentaries film for a long time. When the war started in Bosnia, I started filming the war, and then I continued for years making documentaries. So I have this kind of experience with real people. And when I saw 2 kids, because I have also kids, I understood that the most difficult thing is going to be actually to deal with them. So I went before, I spent 2-3 days with them, just with the camera like this. So first they were jumping on me, jumping on the camera, hitting it, kissing it, you know, whatever. And after 2 days, you know, I just get bored, because that's what kids do. They get bored, I'm not very funny, you know, just standing there with the camera. So they just continue with their life. And that's when we actually started shooting. But shooting, actually, for the first day, I was shooting what they were doing. You know, the beginning of the film is actually, I was just trying to see myself, you know, and I was filming everything that was happening, meaning he would go and chop the wood to make coffee, you know. And we're in 21st century, you know, so she says, you know, we need wood to heat, and he goes into wood and chop the wood. But there's no difference for him between today and, you know, 1,000 years, I think. Except that he has electricity and it's a little bulb, that's all they use electricity for. Like they don't cook on electricity, they just use electricity for the light. And even that they can't afford to pay, and TV, you know, that's just it. So I spent 1-2 days just filming their life, how she's cooking, how she's, you know, dealing with the kids. And then eventually I started asking, okay, so what happened? And then they would tell me, and then I would. So I make little points actually. I had like 7 or 8 really moments which were important dramatically to tell the story as it was, which I kind of, okay, tell me how it was, he would tell me, then I would make note of that, tell me again how it was. And then they started chopping this car. You know, I was, what the hell are you doing? So this is what we live on. And then, you know, then we just started filming. I never saw anybody, you know, hashing car down. It was amazing. And then we followed them, and we somehow I tried to make one part of the film their life mixing with everything else, you know, with what happened. And then we just, you know, I would take them to place, and I said, so what happened as well? Then she said, I have pain, take me to the hospital, and then I filmed it, you know, so to show me how it was, and then he would do it, and I would film it. Actually, we had 2 cameras we were filming with 2 cameras most of the time. I had the main camera, I was trying to catch whatever I could without, you know, without stopping him from filming. And that was it. It was very natural, in a way. And I really didn't know how it's going to look at the end. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to tell that story. I didn't have any screenplay. I didn't have any final, you know, decision how it's going to go. And then, you know, things happen when you shoot like that. And this was also thanks to the experience which I had. Sometimes when you shoot like this, things which are incredible happen, and that's the beauty of the documentary. If you're there, you know, like the last day with the snow, we had 1 meter of snow. I mean, imagine production making snow to make this, and it's impossible. I mean, you would have to have Hollywood effects. It would cost you probably $5 million just to have, you know, this epic snow, which we just had like that. It was a gift. So
maybe Amra, what was your approach? Did you schedule these 9 days? You want to put it, or how was your approach? Did you say we just go in there, we see what we find, we're gonna try to develop the story?
What we did. It sounds very rational, but actually everything was 100% intuitively. So when we were discussing, Danis was listening to the story which they told in front of the camera, because we shot him telling the story to the camera. And then it was 2 of us saying, 8 days of shoot, yeah, I think so. So I cannot...
Gut feeling.
Yeah, it is impossible for me to say, and they're like, 8, yeah, I think 8 is enough. And then they're calling me the 7th day and say, yeah, we are finishing tomorrow. We had money for 2 additional days, so we knew that if we can stay there.
So you were over-financed?
Yeah, we were over-financed. But it is not like what the artists managed to do is basically to structure the story, what they said, what they told us, in a number of shooting days. So the story in the film, you have a feeling that it was the same number of days that we shot the film, besides these two that we dispute about. So it is, you know, this is, and that's how we actually talked about it. So we shot. There was a dramaturgy of 8 days, and then there was also a day-by-day logic. You know, they shot one day, they shot another day, and they shot, you know. So when day was over, they would call me and told me the third day was over. So that means the third day the script is over as well, in a certain way. But it is not that we have been extremely clever and really said we need to do it like that. Because they were working with non-professional actors, and I was not on the set. I was like the producer.
What do you mean they were not extremely clever?
Some of us. Some of us are extremely clever, but some of us are not.
Kidding.
But what I understand is that you have to have kind of a huge experience, or vast experience at least, in all kinds of things. You have shot with a lot of budgets as a director, really. So you've been low budget, you have been shooting big films as well. Amra, same thing, Cedomir, same thing, so I think this is very much crew-based and family-based kind of media you had there. And what could you tell to people who might, would that have been, if you would have known before, as you say now everything is retrospectively said, and now it sounds somehow easy, but would it have been plannable that way? Like if you knew that there would have been something like a screenplay or whatever based on the real life fact, and then you want to go there in this village and then you find actors maybe, or you take them or whatever. How would that have been for you as a producer, this approach?
I think that the only way that you can approach this only on the basis of the story and situation and the people and the moment that you are working that in. For Danis it was more important to do it fast than to have to work with the budget. And that was, and the combination, it was so much more important to do it immediately than to have at least decent, you know, decent production budget.
That's what I mean. You never saw a moment of saying, okay, let's sit down, let's write this story, let's get casting crew, let's find a location.
Come on, it took us a month to apply, to get the money, to start shooting. We didn't, and in between it was New Year's. There were New Year's holidays.
Yeah.
So actually it was basically 15 days and then the shoot. So it was a little bit out of the necessity. It is that.
But so I think movie making should be about that. I mean, this is what I miss. Somehow I felt home doing this one. I don't know how to explain it. I was doing for a long time. I was making documentaries, and documentaries for me are somehow more beautiful than any feature film. They're more true. They're more. I mean, for years and years I've been making films where, you know, things would just happen in front of the camera, and you would have to kind of be in sync with what's happening without knowing where it's going to take you. But you had to believe in your gut feeling, and you had to have skills. And this is, I think, what real filmmaking is. So you don't have motivation system, characters, scenography, but everything is yours at the same time. You know, it's kind of liberating not to have to. Not to know actually in a way what's going to happen.
What is extremely important, because it's such a small budget, you know, that you are basically, you own your work. Even if you fail, it is our failure. It is not a failure that involves 6 other co-producers, then it will involve zillions of different funds, extremely complicated contracts. We have been working on the film. Cedomir came on board at the very beginning, but basically when the film was edited, he was the one trying to kind of do the best that we could internationally with the film. But it was always only 2 of us talking on the phone. It was, you know, usually you have to call this one and that one and then think what he sees, what he thinks, and then you have to sleep over it and whatever. It was.
But there's also one thing that I think this is an example of director-driven films and non-director-driven films. And I think that I usually say to people with whom I work more than once, but even if we work once, but there are several with whom I worked more than once, including Danis from the beginning on all his films, I would always say, like, you know, we can make a film without anybody, except without a director. And it is a collective work, and producers are there to get the finance, to give their ideas, etc., etc. But on films like this, and like in most of the movies, it is the director who concentrates everything on himself. And I think especially on this kind of film, I mean, the talent goes together with the talent. So in a way, the talent sticks to director's talent, including Amra and myself. Because in a certain way, it was Danis who was choosing with whom to work. And maybe some other directors would try to produce it by themselves, because it would look very easy to produce a film like this. But nothing is easy, and more the film is cheap, more it's difficult. And this film was not cheap. This film had a non-existing budget. I mean, you can just decide not to buy a car and make the film. But this was the case. Except that here it's true, it's the state, I mean, the soft money which paid for the car. But I think the main thing is the talent which got together.
And that's what we discussed now before coming here. You know, I have been working on different low budgets since I became a producer. And I'm choosing usually difficult films by certain also inclination. But what is important is basically that you never can judge films by the budget in the sense of how much money we actually had. We had 30,000 euros cash, but everything else you cannot put in the equation, because how much is what is Danis' value in this film? What is the value of the idea? What is the value of the script? If you add also the extraordinary life of our characters, you know, it is impossible to make a budget out of it. How you budget their life? How you go there and budget their house? You know.
And the actor who becomes a Berlinale winner of the Best Actor. I mean, how can you value that?
So it is, you know, what I think after so many experiences with low budgets and so many good experiences and horrible experiences, great films and horrible films, so it was not everything was great. It is, when you're deciding to work on the low budget, it is not about trying to find cheap things. It is how to get the things that are the most expensive for no money. And that's the huge difference in between two logics. And if you go only looking for cheaper stuff, you will end up doing the cheap film. And it doesn't matter what the budget is. And when you go and look for the most, because I don't think that you know, our DOP, for instance, he is a great DOP. And if we would try to kind of tell him how much money he
would have been allocated.
Yeah. So when you have 70,000, we knew that he's invaluable for us. So all of these people have a kind of a small percentage, in a 100% of the film, yeah, like a backend, which gives us also a feeling that, you know, it is not a question of money, but we co-own the film. In a way.
It was a collective,
yeah.
real collective.
Yeah.
But it's important, you know, I think now with years of experience, I think it's important for a filmmaker to find his family, to find people that he belongs to, that there's really complete trust. You know, there's no, I don't think there was ever issue between us for the money or anything. It's you know, we can make big budget films and then, you know, we get a good salary and fine, it's great. But, you know, but we are here for filmmaking, we're here because we love to do what we do. And when you find people like Errol, who's DOP, you know, I just have some people that I work again. And I think that's the most important thing in big filmmaking or, you know, small time big filmmaking.
It's also a question of talent.
Of course, but you know, when you find there are a lot of talented people which you just don't want to work with.
But you grew up together somehow as well, or you grew up as a filmmaking team.
Yeah, but sometimes you just meet guys, you know, like I was just, during the Berlinale, actually, I started shooting new films. So I was going and I met the guy who's German, and after 10 minutes with him, I proposed him, why don't you come with us to India? And the guy left 2 other projects and came with us because he just had fun with us. For those 2 days in Berlin, he's a steady camera, and I know I found somebody that I'm going to work again. Because we just spent 2 months in the middle of nowhere in India shooting a film. You know, he was there, and for me it was the first time I used actually Steadicam, because I did use it before, but I kind of didn't like it.
Usually didn't use it again.
Yeah.
No, only for very particular things.
But now I kind of, you know, I like the way he was using the Steadicam. I like the guy, so now he's, you know, he really became part of family. So that's also important. So you can't just do things alone. You need people you trust, and you need people who can do many things. I can do many things. You know, in this film I've been second camera, I've been director, I've been script girl, I've been whatever, you know, catering sometimes. You know, it's like, we don't care about it, we just love what we do. And everybody else is like that. And, you know, you can only do that actually with people you really trust. And along the way you meet them and you just kind of stay.
It depends also in which country you're doing it, because this would be impossible to make in France, where I work. I mean, there would be no way, because...
I don't think it would be possible for us, but I think it would be possible for French.
No, because the contracts and social charges and insurances and all these things, otherwise you cannot come out with the film, you know, and they will ask you all these papers and all this.
Otherwise, he loves France, don't
He's even living there.
He's just like the balance.
No, it's
that we are living in Bosnia.
It's very simple. I mean, whatever I did thanks to France. I think it's still one of the best places to produce movies in the world. But it's true that this would not be possible. And it was very funny because when we get the 2 awards in Cannes, I was approached by the secretary, in Berlin. The Cannes is next, sorry. The thoughts.
Cannes is France.
He's gonna get 2 awards in Cannes this year.
Flying away. And then the Secretary General of Eurimage called me and he said, you know, it's a very funny story to tell you, because my president from Strasbourg, you probably all know Eurimage, which is co-financing the movies and is an important part of our financing strategies. And he said, I was called by our president and he said, why we are not in this film? And he answered, and then he said, why? We refused them. I said, no, they did not apply. I said, how come that Bosnia did not apply for Eurimage, having France and Slovenia, meaning the 3 countries which are officially co-producing the film? He said, because the total budget now is 30,000. So how can you apply? And then without applying, I will have problems with Film France, because France, it is a French-Bosnian co-production, but on paper it's under no conventions, under no agreements, under nothing. So, and all the French movies which are agreed as French are protected, so it goes into the European quotas, they have nationality, they have distribution support, etc. We're not going to have anything of all this. So if you want to sell it to television, okay, now it's sold to Arte, so we are fine. But Arte Germany bought it, and it will cover France, but you cannot go to pay TVs, you cannot go to anybody, because what is this? It's an UFO. You know.
I should ask them.
But the fact is that certainly we're gonna show them, and you know, we're not going to ask them 300,000 euros, even though I would feel like.
We should ask 300,000 euros.
Yes.
The value issue comes in again. I mean,
Yeah.
why would you pay less? I mean, it's a 90-minute film or a feature-length film.
No, it's 74 minutes. 75 minutes.
Yeah, so it is.
No,
For
it's
1
a
minute,
quota.
that's a feature
It's a
film.
quota question.
Yeah.
It's a quota question. It will be considered as out of quota. You know, France will have 60% local films, 20% European films, and 20% out of quota, meaning Americans. And so you would get into this 20% of, doesn't matter how much you pay, you enter into the quota. How do you think they would take this film against the American films which would make audience? I doubt.
We're gonna make it a Texas film. We're gonna change the words.
Yeah, I know what we can do. We can make. I think we should make it.
Büyük.
I had the idea to make it in 3D and show it in the cinemas in 3D.
That's a great idea.
I think that would be something to attract the market.
Let's make 4D. I mean, everybody gets the national.
Goes there. You bring him to Boston. You do like a live action role play.
But that everything was not so rosy. We shot a film on photo camera. And
Don't say the name.
Just a photo three photo cameras, no brands, and
Sumuji camera.
and
Because they wouldn't give us any money, so we don't want to
they didn't want to
mention
support
their
us,
names.
so we don't want to mention any names. And we shot the film, and we got an invitation. We knew that we are in game for Berlin, and then the nightmare of post-production came on board, with the technical difficulties with the DCP and with something in the picture that nobody knows where it comes from and blah blah blah. And it was something that took us a month and a half to decipher, and still we don't know what happened. And until the moment when we screened it and while this was going on, I was partly alone in the problem because I took it on myself to go through that. And the size of a Berlinale Palace screen was growing and growing and growing in my mind. I was thinking at the end, it is a football stadium, And a certain moment, at the OP, when it was published that we already, by then we knew that we are in the Berlinale competition, which was amazing. And on the other side, it was published that Von Carvalho is the president of the jury. And then our DOP came to me and told me, Amra, if I knew that this film is going to be in the Berlinale competition and the Von Carvalho is going to be a president of the jury, I will never do it on photo camera. So and it is, because suddenly you are there, we didn't do it for, this was not done intentionally. We never planned any competition for, Berlinale competition. It's great that it happened. So it was funny, and from the beginning until the end, and our biggest fear was how it is going to look like. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning, you have a test screening in the Berlinale Palace, and it is 4 of us sitting there, and before the screening started, the test screening started, we're thinking, oh my God, it looks like, amateur, whatever, we are going to disappear now.
She was very nervous.
But
She had dinner with me the night before.
But we did not know that the film was screened to the jury as the first film they saw.
And we didn't know the jury already saw the film. Yeah.
They saw it in the very beginning of the festival. They saw it, we found out that.
That was the first film they saw.
Yes, it was the first film.
Yeah, without technical, yeah.
But you see,
Can you imagine?
Yeah, so basically,
but the beautiful thing would be, this film already, thanks to Berlin, could have its sequel. Because, when the film was selected officially, that the festivals, they do insist to have the stars. So we had the 2 stars. And our 2 stars were the 2 gypsies. And take them out. So it was very difficult, and it was kind of...
There was another kind of, a second episode in the life of an iron picker. Our friend, he's a lawyer by education, and he's also a production manager on our film. And he was, for a month, trying to kind of legalize the family, to be able to get them passports and so they could travel. It was not a problem with the parents, but they in the meantime got a son. And the kid was 6 months old, 8 months old. His name is Danis.
And he has to be breastfed.
And he's breastfed, so he has to travel with his mother. But he was nowhere, He was born in a hospital, but never they didn't apply for the papers. And we did all the papers that you need, like 3 months. We needed to do it in 12 days, 14 days, whatever. So until the last moment, we didn't know why they're going to be with us. Only.
You also found out that she's still married?
No, but we found out everything.
Plenty of things we found out.
that
Parts of the family living in Berlin.
Then we find out that that Nazik has a first
he's a
wife.
man of many families.
Yes.
Yes, his
And
son
she is
lives
also
in
one of
Berlin.
many families as well. And they're really in love and living together, and she was married when she was 18 and never divorced, and nobody knows where her husband is, so it is impossible to divorce her now. So everything was extremely complicated, and
Berlinale insisting she has to come, she has to come.
And I was receiving SMSs from them, and then I was forwarding them to Cedo and telling them, now you explain this to Berlinale because it's really unexplainable. We discovered that there is a husband who is, nobody knows where he is, and because the kid was born in the marriage, the father, who is actually a father, cannot be a father of a kid in the birth certificate. It has to be an old forgotten husband who is somewhere. So if it's old forgotten husband, the kid cannot travel because husband needs to sign the permission for a kid to travel. So suddenly
I could have made a second episode.
How do you value this?
No, but also the beautiful thing is whenever I would call Berlinale to explain them, they would put the phone on speaker because there were always 4 or 5 around, and you could hear them laughing and saying, no, we can't believe. And then at the end it came that, okay, she is going to find her dress in Sarajevo, she's going to be helped in Bosnia to get dressed for the red carpet, but can we get Hugo Boss for him? And then they all started laughing. They said, yes, they are official partner, but they're not sponsoring, so we have... And so finally he was dressed in Hugo Boss. I don't know if they gave him the thing or he just...
They gave him a suit.
Thank God, because they're not doing like with Stars in Cannes, and they finish climbing the stairs, they take off their jewels and everything, and it goes back to the safe. But it was, so that was part of a funny thing, and we were shooting Danis' next film, Last Days of Berlin, when we received the call that the guy should come back. And I could not believe it. I said, are you kidding us or what? He said, no, our sales agent. And then I said, but I want to guarantee. I called Amra, I couldn't get her. I called Danis on the set.
No, you sent for me.
Yes, I sent for you.
No, my producer sends a guy who comes to me and says, producer is urgently needing you. And I'm drinking my coffee and I say, if it's urgently, tell him to come down. Because I'm having my coffee and I'm smoking a cigarette.
Because they said both, they said first, okay, there is something for Danis, but this doesn't matter because he's here. But you have to get the actor back.
Just to explain briefly, on the end of the festival, the films are screened early. Normally the team goes home.
Yeah.
And if there's the award ceremony and there's some award for the people involved who already gotten home, the producers or the sales agent getting a call from the protocol of the festival saying or asking whether this person
to come back.
But they are not allowed to tell you what you want.
What your award
There's
is.
no sign whether you got like the special mention or you got the main award, but they ask kindly to the people to come back.
And you know, that guy left on Thursday and this was Saturday morning. No, it was Friday night. Sorry, it was Friday night. It was just 24 hours after he came back. And then I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to be cruel with these people. I mean, you have to guarantee me that you're not inviting him to put him like a ficus next to Danis. I mean, this would be really not possible to give him a little mention, human rights, whatever. And then they said, okay. I said, in 10 minutes, we need the answer.